even though I'm going to title this video, I was right about Trump, I'm going to say I was pretty much right about him. And I know I flip-flopped around on him, but I did say a lot of truths that are dead on balls accurate today, and I think I was the only one saying this. Like, damn, I'm not for Hillary Clinton. Yeah, I was the guy that got the bumper sticker called Hilda Beast instead of Hanger. Now, I'm glad that, Trump's family's in here, too. You got, hot Ivanka, which you'd look better with Confederate flags in the background because that would really piss off the major media. You know what I mean? That's one reason I gravitate towards that Confederate flag now today because, boy, it pisses off the freaking libtards, the major media. Now, Trump, I don't think he's like really a bad guy or nothing. I'm not saying that. At first I was wondering if he was some kind of in the pocket for the Clintons. He was going to run on a third party, like a Ross Perot deal, and throw it to them. That's what Ross Perot actually did, right? And he didn't do that. He's hammering the Clintons. He's not all bad or nothing like that. But I know he's a salesman, and that's what I recognize because I says, anybody in his position that's got his, they're BSers. Now, on a plus side to him, let me say this. Even if he's 110% legit, he can't go fighting 10 different battles on 10 different fronts at once. He's going to have to compromise, and he's been compromising by getting all the Goldman Sachs financial people in his administration, which is really bad news. And he's been compromising by, funding the hell out of NATO and the military-industrial complex. So is that a compromise that he has to appease some groups and he can't fight everybody? Well, that might be the truth, too. But, he's going against some of his promises. But I don't want people to go against him because the alternatives are way, 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 way worse. But just don't buy it. What I was always saying is don't buy into all the crap. I always said that. I was consistent about that. I know he's got a patriotic streak in him, and I know the powers that really run this country don't like this guy. They'd rather have Hillary Clinton in there. And I also know what's going on with Google, YouTube. I mentioned this on other videos. It's independent media producers that caused big money to lose a lot of money on political campaign contributions. Like they lost over $100 million they put on Jeb Bush. I don't know how much money they put on Romney. And, of course, way more money on Hillary Clinton. They lost all that, plus $1.5 billion into the slush fund Clinton Foundation charitable contribution thing. And this big money that pays these people, the political contributions that we don't want in office, they fund YouTube they're the biggest advertisers on YouTube that pay my salary too, okay? So, part of what, because I work in a CPA firm, but I do this too, right? So, a lot of people that are independent producers on YouTube are saying, yeah, they're doing this and they're doing that. Well, that's because you're politically incorrect. If you stick with I don't know, Pokemon or retro Beanie Babies from way back when, I don't know, you'll be fine, right? Just don't mention one political thing, you'll be fine on YouTube, and that's what's really going on. But I'm going to mention some political shit, but I don't really do it. Now, I want to tell you something, too. The reason I'm presenting this picture of a 1960 era cashier, I want to tell you just how brain dead the current generation has gotten. Sometimes I like looking at some of the retro stuff on YouTube, not only for showing me how much more intelligent people were back then, in a real sense, and also how much more slimmer and healthier people were, in a real sense, way back when, due to genetically modified foods. And I'm leading up to something because this actually is going to be one of the rationales where they're going to probably push the United States into war because they don't really have the raw talent anymore available for the military like they used to have back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and whatever. You look back in Woodstock, hey, everybody wasn't fat in Woodstock. Everybody was thin. If there's a Woodstock today in 1969 and it was in 2017, there's a bunch of fat millennials out there freaking going to Woodstock, right? I'm not saying that Woodstock was great, but it goes to show you something's going on in throughout our society where everybody's getting dumber and everybody's getting fatter and lazier, and they just can't do anything today. Like, for example, um, back in 1960-62, and bear with me on this because I'm leading up to something. In 1960-62, like you take somebody who was just a supermarket cashier. Well, they didn't have any electronic cashier things out there that tells you, automatically punches in the items. You got to punch in everything manually. You got to look at the item. It said 33 cents, 42 cents. You had to punch it in there with a manual thing, and it didn't tell you what the change was. So if the items rang up to $24.12, and the lady gave you a $100 bill, you'd have to give her $75.88 back, and you'd have to be able to make the change. Today, a millennial would have a large problem doing that, and considering that, supermarkets run on like a 1% profit, they'd probably be losing hiring millennials to do this job. Today, this would require the equivalent of an MBA. I mean, it's what people used to do, which was like not even a high-end job. I mean, people were engineers doing things on drafting boards with paper and pen and everything manual before these CAD/CAM computers. And they did a great job. It shows you the lack of intelligence that's going on. Now, one thing about Trump, he does have intelligence. He's a very smart guy. He's of the old school generation from back in the 50s and 60s. He does have a patriotic streak. But I was basically right about this guy. Don't freaking expect him to do all the crap he says he's going to do. The wall. Hey, we're going to get a wall. Well, maybe he's doing something about exporting illegals or whatever the hell he's doing. He's backing away from some of the stuff. And, there's the flip side. He can't make too many enemies because even if he does just part of what he says, they already don't want him in there, and they're going to do everything they can to attack him and get him out. Personally, what I think this guy ought to do is get together with Putin and the hell would just whack the economy, whack him. I mean, knock him out. The communists in the USA, like Berkeley University, you got some practice for your troops there, freaking Putin. If the California state police are told to stand down, hey, you could bring Putin's guys in there. I don't give a shit. Good luck. And I have to say that, the Trump family, with, what the hell was her name? Obama, Michelle Obama. That was a guy, that's Michael Obama. Now, I know some people that were black were saying, well, I ain't criticizing Barbara Bush. Well, you can criticize Barbara Bush. I know she's really a female, but that chick looks like a dude all the way, too. But Michelle Obama was a dude. Obama's gay as all hell. And Joan Rivers blew the whistle on all that, and they killed her, right? Now, Trump, he might have some things hanging in the closet. I don't know. Who the hell knows, man? But I could tell you one thing. He's a hell of a lot more squeaky clean than 99% of the jackasses in freaking Washington, D.C. by far. Especially like the Clintons and the Bushes. Herbert Walker Bush, according to inside information from people that are involved in a lot of secret black ops and things, which I knew this information many years ago. Herbert Walker Bush, the old man, he used to like teenage black males for sex. They'll never get that out on the internet. Well, you just heard it here. Right? Hey, Google, there's got to be an ad friendly for that. Something, I don't know, condoms, Trojan, I don't know what. Anyway, practice safe sex, Herbert Walker Bush. Anyway, but, the Trump family looks like, they're pretty squared away. And, yeah, I could say one thing about Trump that balances him out is not so much the females so much, is his two sons. His two sons are, I think they're squared away. They're going to be pretty busy running this business, though, so they're not going to get involved in politics too much. But you got Tiffany and Melania and Ivanka and Barron. They're cool. And honest, I always like blonde women, but I know they're bad news to tell you the truth. But they look good. That's just my opinion. That's a personal opinion. But they're bad news, though. I can tell you that right now. They think their crap doesn't stink. But I can tell you with Trump, he is, he is a BS artist. He's not like, I'm not saying that I don't want to say that too critical, because he's definitely the best choice we had. There's no doubt about it, by far. Not even by a little bit, by a lot. But, people were like, well, he's going to drain the swamp. He ain't going to drain the swamp. He's filling up the swamp with more Goldman Sachs yo-yos, and he's funding NATO. But, on the he's still, he dismantled that TPP crap, and he's doing some stuff. But, this has always been my point. The only way we're going to be free of this crap is economic collapse. And that's why I think these guys are actually gearing up for a war, because economic collapse is on the horizon. I'm going to show you something else, too, where I think they're gearing up for war. This is about the millennials. Fully 71, they're ineligible for military. Fully 71% of today's youth, aged 17 to 24, are ineligible for the military service due to lack of proper education, basic reading and writing skills, or health issues, often obesity and diabetes. I always look at, that's one thing that's cool about YouTube. You can look at those older, I don't know, it could be about any subject from the 50s, 60s, or even the 70s, or the 40s and 30s. Look how much slimmer people were. A woman back in the 1950s, average waist was 25 inches. Marilyn Monroe's waist was 22 inches. Average woman was 35, 25, 35. Marilyn Monroe was 38, 22, 35. Today, the average woman's weight, I'm not criticizing women because the guys are all doing the same thing. The same thing. The woman's waist today, average, is 35. It's like what the bust size of a woman was back in the 1950s. And it's the food, it's the poison these jackasses are giving you, because you gain weight due to toxins. Fat traps toxins. So it's not just the calories, but fats are used to actually protect your vital organs from toxins. So just having toxic, unnatural, genetically modified, processed foods will cause you to gain weight, even with low calories, because fat will be used and if the fat doesn't trap the toxin's going to affect your vital organs and ruin your health. So, rapid aging and cancer and death, followed by chemotherapy. So, that's really what's going on with the general population. And this is the population that's going to be serving in the military. If you look back in the 1950s and 60s and even the early 70s, how much fit more people were from the age group 17 to 24 than they are today, it's light years different. And they also realize they don't have the money, and the technology is catching up in China, and Russia, of course. Russia's going to probably kick our ass, which may not be a bad idea if they just hit the right spots in this country that are blatantly communist. But that's why they're probably pushing for war. Now, with Trump, I don't know what the hell. I think he's just being told to do what the hell he's being told. Another thing that's an indication that they're pushing for war is that we actually have a depression going on right now, whether they recognize it or not. And the way we know this is the labor participation rate. And men aged 25 to 54, it went from 96% participation rate in 1968 to a little bit over 88%. This is way below the labor force participation rate in almost every other developed country. This is pertaining to the United States. See, the unemployment rate doesn't tell you what the hell's really going on. It's the labor participation rate in the productive years of males. It's extremely low. So, in reality, we got a depression going on. So, what do you do to get out of that? You know what the real deal is? War. And Trump is probably playing right into that. So that's one promise he's not going to do. Now, like I said, I was always saying the guy is. I don't want to be too critical of him because I don't. There's the alternatives out there are freaking beyond hideous. Okay, Mitt Romney, Jeb Bush, Clinton, holy crap, any of them, man. I mean, his vice president was a big his vice presidential choice was a good indication of where the shit was going to go, right? Pence. On its surface, they talk the line. They're conservatives. No, they're not. Or whatever the hell a conservative is. I ain't really a conservative either. I'm not. Well, what I am is actually what the word by textbook definition before they took over the meaning took over the word is I'm a liberal in the way the founding fathers talked about liberalism. You know, not the way they talk about it today, which is communism. You know, but I was right about this guy Trump. He's doing like kind of stuff, but I can't complain because, and the only reason Hillary, I think lost by about 30 percentage points in reality. The votes are that rigged. I mean, when I looked at the Donald Trump rallies, he'd be pulling in 25, 30,000 people. She'd be pulling in like 80 to 120. It was like, kind of hell, it don't matter. I was looking all over the state of Florida. It didn't matter if it was in the Panhandle, in north central Florida, or over in Tampa, on the the west coast of Florida, or down south in Broward County, where you think Trump didn't have as much support. He had loads of support. He only won by 1.5% or something like that in this state. No way in hell. They were rigging it in favor of Hillary, but they could have made her win. But at the last minute, they realized too many people know about the real deal with her that she couldn't be able to get nothing done. So they elect, not that Trump, in reality, the people that pull the levers, Trump would, if they really counted the votes right, I think Trump would have won by 30%. Now, he would have won by that on the crap he was telling us, which is, it's a mixed bag. It's sort of like when he's selling you some real estate or he's selling you, a condo, and, he's delivering about half and he's delivering some of what he says, and he's pumping up a lot of glossing over like what he's a salesman, man. He's a salesman. But I recognize that. But I didn't want to be so critical of him because I know all the alternatives out there were bad. But people were jumping all over my shit for me being critical of him a little bit. And, basically I was right. I recognize nobody's a billionaire. It doesn't play the game with all the boys. You know what I mean? They're all he's in with this shit, and he's going to continue. But they don't want him because he's got a patriotic streak. Oh, they hate him. They still hate him. So I don't want to be too critical of him either, But, I was right. I was right about this crap. But I'm still glad he's in there. Could you imagine looking at Hillary Clinton and Chelsea? Ugh, that's ugly fugly to the max. Could you imagine putting up their crap? Anyway, but one of the ways you could fight this back is don't contribute to the government as much as possible. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. I mean, when you order online, you're supposed to pay, at the end of the year, you're supposed to pay a sales excise tax or something like that. I think that's what you do. Yeah, you do that. You file that. Or they haven't started to tax grow your own food. And do not buy anything that is a big company, especially any type of organization that bans the sale of the Confederate flag. Don't buy for them. Amazon, Google stores, Walmart. Now I go in Walmart because I have to because they're the main food store around here. But I limit my purchases, eBay, all these crappy old places. Limit your freaking purchases on any of, what's his name? Jeff Bezos, Amazon. Very rarely will I buy from Amazon anymore because he's a liberal jackass that runs the Washington Post. That's really kind of how you got to fight him back. But the problem is most Americans are brain dead adults. They're going, even the conservatives are paying all the money to the communists through their property taxes, through their HOA fees even, their sales taxes, their federal taxes, and there's a lot of ways you can cut those things down. And also, they buy from these big companies that are supporting all these liberal. They bank in Bank of America and Chase Manhattan. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's not conservative. Well, you just paying these jackasses. You're giving all your money to them. Well, screw them up, man. Screw them up. You know, you can't send one guy to Washington, D.C. and expect him to drain the swamp. Unless he's got like a nuclear backpack strapped to him and he says, hey, come on around here, swampsters and alligators. I got a speech for you. And he pulls a plug and he does like one of those jihadists and he goes, that'd be the end of this shit. That would drain it. But eventually it's probably going to get drained because communism doesn't work. And unfortunately, the stars and bars of the Yankee North has turned blatantly communist ever since the South lost the war, man. I'm on this shit forever on my channel, man. I don't give a shit. The more they attack the Confederacy, the more I fight back. I don't give a damn. I don't even care. Hey, Fonky, you got to stick Confederate flags in your background, man. You'd really be cool then. You really look hot. Anyway, and of course, when that gets popular, it's going to suck. It's really cool when it's rebel. I love shit that's rebel. Like, in other words, a minority does it, right? But today, people can't even think to make their own change. Like back then, you know, could you imagine this lady sitting at cashier? She's getting paid a low amount of money. She's got to make change on all these people from checks to handle physical money, physical coinage. She's got to ring up everything manually. She's got to, you know, she's not using a machine that goes bleep and it records the inventory. No, you got to do all that manual. Hey, the whole world was functioning like just fine like that way back when. Of course, all that was EMP proof too. But today, you could take an MBA with a degree in finance and accounting, and they'd be trying to do that. They wouldn't even last an hour. Shit. Now you know what the problem is. And today, again, I want to point out to this thing, the participation the labor participation rate. The millennials today are, for the most part, totally unfit for freaking military service. It's like if they are physically fit, they're usually lacking in education, basic and reading and writing skills. Or if they're educated, they're totally they're totally physically unfit. Because the biggest activity today is, you know, playing Pokemon Go or whatever the crap there is out there, whatever the hell kind of garbage. So they're probably thinking about, well, you know, if the United States is going to get in a war, man, a big one, they better do it now. Because they're losing the basis where to get the troops from. Number two, they're losing, all their stockpiles are getting older and older and older. Number three, the debt bomb is ready to go off with $20 trillion worth of debt. And it's pretty damn obvious that Mr. Trump is in with that program and he's going along with that because he's funding the military in NATO, right? Which is something he said he wasn't going to do, right? But what are you going to do, man? I mean, even if the guy's legit, he can't fight 10 different fronts at once. Even if he's 110% legit, he can't fight 10. They hate his guts for even doing some of what he said. They want a completely compliant guy in there. So what do you do? What do you do? First off, I'll tell you the truth. I like YouTube for the little guys. I don't watch any of the big channels. I support all the little channels that I like. I don't watch any of the big channels. If I see some yo-yo on there on a big channel on YouTube talking like a flake, you know, trying to get attention, I don't watch it. You know, and usually that's what most people like because there's attention-seeking clickbait garbage going on left and right, and it doesn't help me. What I do is I support the little guys. And, you know, I know YouTube doesn't like the little guys unless they're totally non-political. And the reason YouTube doesn't like them is because, it's not that they don't like them, it's because they're getting paid by the big money. Their big money advertisers don't want any critics out there getting paid that they're funding, you know? I remember seeing ads for Hillary Clinton's campaign running on one of my videos that was criticizing her. And I was like, wow, that's pretty wild. It's like you freaking got the wrong place. But I just had, I just noticed it because I don't really run that freaking ad block shit anymore because I'm trying to support the little producers because I realize what's going on, man. They're trying to censor the shit out of the place. Um, but honestly, when I was telling you about Trump, don't expect him to do all the shit he says, and I'm flip flopping back and forth on him because I couldn't really figure out where he is. The guy is not gonna. He's a salesman, man. He's way better than anybody we could have had. There's no doubt about that. Okay, but he's a salesman. He's gonna tell you stuff you want to hear, and he's not gonna. Even if he could deliver, he can't. I mean, in other words, even if he wants to deliver, excuse me, he can't. He's not going to be able to. And I'm not sure. Well, even Billy Boy Clinton, man, he didn't want to go in Bosnia. Billy Clinton? He didn't want to go attack in Bosnia and shit like that. He was against that crap. He was ordered to do that shit. I mean, Clinton, I didn't like him politically, but a lot of stuff he says even about the establishment Republicans, man, that guy's right. There's a lot of stuff I don't like about Bill Clinton and shit, man. Especially the fact that he's married to Hillary Clinton. You ought to get one of these. You ought to get some Eastern European chick like freaking Trump's got. Somebody that likes him. And anyway, just want to tell you, man, I was basically right about this guy. But still, he's doing enough against the elite. Not that he's doing anywhere near what he said he's going to do, because either he can't do it or he's doesn't want to. One or combination of both. But what are you going to do? They still want him out. But I was basically right. The guy was selling you. He's a good salesman. But I don't want to be too critical of him because all the other alternatives out there were 1,000 times worse than this guy. 1,000 times worse. So what do? First off, you don't freaking send one guy to freaking Washington to fix all your problems. That's where you come in. If you bank in Washington, Bank of America or Chase Manhattan Bank or any of these evil organizations or New York Mellon Bank, don't. If you're supporting the big jackass liberals, like Jeff Bezos through Amazon, which I think is the worst one going. At least with Google stores and eBay, you got little vendors you could pick from more so than Amazon. Don't support them. If you're living in a high tax area, get the hell out of there. If you want to pay freaking fat property taxes to some jackass government that's a bunch of freaking communist yo-yos, get the hell out of there. Which means all the places that Trump built, we get the hell out of there too, because New York City is a big libtard freaking bastion of the freaking country, man. But and I'm not a blatant fan of Putin. I know he's not Santa Claus, but compared to the communist crap that's going on here in the United States, I think Putin is probably, I'm not so stupid to think that, the Russians are a bunch of, man, you wouldn't want to live under that crap that's going on in Russia, believe me. But compared to where we're going in the United States, we might get worse than what it is under Russia today. That's how we're moving. And being a statist, rule-free conservative isn't the answer. Man, I really kind of can't stand conservatives, but I can't stand communists that call themselves liberals. I'm what you call a true liberal. Liberal means you do what the hell you want. It's a free country, and, liberal as in the way the founding fathers wanted it. But I realize what's going on with Trump. He's pushing us to war, baby. And it's not because it's his plan. He's being told what to do. And I don't think it's either a battle he can't fight because there's too many battles he's trying to fight, or he's just going along with it for political purposes. And they're going to have to do something because first off, again, the millennials, you ain't got the freaking pull to get the right kind of fighting people out of the millennials like you used to be able to do in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Nowhere near. Not even close. Plus, we got a major problem going on in our economy, which means there's a lot less real dollars being going back into the federal government to finance the war machine. The war machine's being financed by debt, which is a debt bomb ready to go off with $20 trillion. And China's catching up to us militarily. So, that's a lot of what the China rhetoric is on from Trump, too. You know? So, the way the elite, they're going to lead us into war, man, and I think we're going to lose. I think we're going to lose. It's going to be the end of the United States. And, oh well. Well, look at it. I'll be up in the area where the Cherokee tribes used to be, and I'll live like a Cherokee, man. And I'll still be on YouTube if this damn thing still works. If we didn't get blown up over there, too. But in the meantime, I'm going to tell you, I think I gave you enough pearls of wisdom about Trump all along. I was wrong about him being a ringer for the Clintons, being a Ross Perot guy. But I was right about him being basically telling you a lot of shit you like to hear and not delivering on a lot of what he says he's going to deliver. But I was right that he's still the best choice we got. And I'm right about you can't send one guy to Washington and freaking figure it's going to fix everything, because then you're on the principle of fascist dictatorship. We don't need that. We, the American people, fix our own problems. And one of the ways you can get more money for yourself is not living in an area that has too many regulations, too many taxes, or maybe a bunch of jackasses in your state and county that are out there to screw people over like the common people. Get out of those asshole areas. You know? Which means mainly New York City and Northeast New Jersey. New Jersey in particular, Connecticut and Rhode Island. Whatever. Anyway, that's all I got to say about this. I was basically right about the whole 9 yards. Not everything, but basically right. And I'm not telling you to support my channel, okay? I'm telling you support the small channels that you like, because, especially the ones that are politically incorrect, because Google is doing everything they can to slow them down. And the reason being, I know I said it 10 times, but that's like people don't get it the first time. A lot of people don't. The reason they're doing this is because the biggest advertisers that are paying YouTube Google are the ones that wanted Clinton's in, or Jeb Bush, or Mitt Romney. They didn't want Trump in, even though Trump was going to compromise with them a lot. They still don't want him in. They don't want to pay small producers that are criticizing the big money policies. Got it? I mean, it's not necessarily the lady that runs YouTube, whatever her name is, although she makes a hell of a lot of money for whatever the hell she's doing. 15, I don't know what the hell she makes. She's a lot of money, man. She don't have as much money as Trump, though, or Clinton. But, she still makes a lot of money. But anyway, I'm not going to and oh, by the way, I want to tell you, too, I know CIA is involved in Google I don't want to say how I know. It's not something I got off the internet. It's something I'm very much privy to. It's not off the internet, that I kind of found out in a roundabout way unexpectedly. But I know for a fact that CIA is, which not really big news to you, CIA is definitely way involved in Google, YouTube too. Oh man, big time. And not all the CIA is bad. If you work for the CIA, I don't think you're automatically a bad guy. But there's elements out of the CIA that are definitely bad. Anyway, and I guess on the plus side, we got a nice looking bunch of babes in the White House now, which is kind of cool. But that's here nor there. So anyway, peace, love, and what the hell is channel I watch? I forget. Log House Looms or some shit. I don't know. He's some hillbilly in North or South Dakota or something. Crap. I don't know what the hell. I always watch his shit. He's always putting some crap out there about his military vehicle or something. Oh, Elderly Iron. I watch his shit. These guys got no money, so I always support their channels and stuff. They don't get very political like me, though. I don't get all political, but, I get political enough that they're probably pissed off at my ass, but, whatever, man. You know, but I realize the game, man. Freaking AT&T is paying me to freaking criticize the guy that they probably put their money down on the election, right? Thanks, AT&T. Whatever, man. That's why they're telling Google to throttle us down, right? But, it ain't going to shut me up or nothing. I'm still going to... Because just like that rebel flag, man, I'm a rebel. I'm an Italian rebel. Italian one, anyway, which is even worse than being a regular rebel. Anyway, I'm an Italian Confederate rebel, which, Trump, if I was working for you, I'd be on your side. But I give you shit, too, because I can tell you one thing. That's how I am. Even the guys I work for, I'm so blatantly honest, and I give them shit, even though it don't help me out. Because if I feel like something's right, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. And believe me, then it's not the smartest thing to do all the time, but that's what I do. That's what I do. I don't mind this guy. I think he's all right, but like I said, I knew all the crap people are believing is not the way it really is. And I was right about that. I was right. So, let's hope everybody, maybe I'm going to be digging a bomb shelter when I get up to Tennessee or some shit in the mountains. And, I'll be one of the few people that survive the next upcoming conflict. Because as Trump funds NATO and our military, I could see what's coming up. I could see what's coming up. It's not just him about funding them. It's, they're going to have to do it now, or if they wait, the United States is going to be having a debt implosion. The military is not going to have anybody to draw upon because instead of 71% being unfit for service, there might be 85% unfit for service. The labor participation rate might go down below 88% to like 70%. And the tax rolls are going to get even worse. So I'm pretty sure he's being directed to get us going for a war. And that's why NATO's getting all aggressive, still continuing to be aggressive against Russia. See, my plan would be to get together with Russia and rule the world. Right, Putin? We got Putin the cat on this side, and we got you on the other side. Putin the cat will be directing the Western Hemisphere. Putin the cat's going to be around a long time after freaking Trump's around, so Putin the cat's going to be running the deal. So anyway, over and out. Peace, love, harmony. And Ivanka, Tiffany, and Melody are hot as shit. I got to agree with that.